Welcome, and thank you for watching this third episode of our Top Trends in Retail video series. These videos are designed to share current trends shaping the future of the retail industry. In this series, we hear from retail experts and innovators as we explore how the retail industry is changing and striving to offer innovative services and experiences. Microsoft recently had the opportunity to speak with one of my close industry friends and frequent podcast partner, Jeff Roster, host of the This Week in Innovation podcast and the Third Eye Podcast Network, while hosting the Retail ROI Super Saturday event at our Microsoft offices in New York. In addition to being a podcast host and producer, Jeff is a Rethink Retail top retail influencer, a strategic advisor to Competera pricing platform, and serves with me on the advisory council to George Mason University's Center for Retail Transformation. Before retiring from the analyst world, Jeff was VP of Retail Strategy at IHL Group. In that role, Jeff communicated global IT trends in the retail and wholesale industries and consulted on strategies with retail technology vendor clients. Prior to IHL, Jeff was a research vice president covering the retail and wholesale industries for Gartner's Industry Market Strategies Cluster. Please enjoy the discussion with my close friend and retail insider, Jeff Roster.
Do we really need to even talk about security as a requirement anymore? I mean, look what's happening just in the last week, where we've had systems, not necessarily a security issue, but we had the entire air fleet shut down for a day. That was a system problem. So the idea that there's even a debate about the need for security and a maximum approach to security is almost an anachronism. We really need to take security as maybe the most serious business issue that a retailer has. I mean, I'm a customer. If you lose my information, if you cause me to have problems, I am not a happy camper. It is critical to invest in these areas. You know, when we think about customer experience, I flash back to what my dad did. My dad had his own retail business in the 60s, 70s that I grew up in, and he had exceptional customer experience. He had that because it was his own business, and it was his lifeblood. It was his passion. What we need to worry about now is how do we replicate what my dad did intuitively across organizations that are 6, 7, 8, maybe up to 10,000 stores. And the way to do that is we have to have a passionate involvement with the associates, with management. Everyone has to be working together. I've heard for many years, we're going to focus on customer experience at the same time we're cutting store hours or we're reducing critical tools that associates need. We need to understand and value that. If you look at a couple of amazing retailers, food service retailers, In-N-Out Burger, Chick-fil-A, those are organizations that I would challenge anybody to find a bad experience with. And yet they're working with the same labor pool that all the rest of us are, but they have real value. They value their frontline associates. Customer experience is certainly a technology investment. We need to have the tools to enable those. But we also have to have a passion for the workers. They're the ones delivering it. If we're not taking care of our frontline workers and giving them the tools they need, don't even talk about customer experience because you're not going to have it. And by the way, I'm a customer on to a lot of retailers that really need to improve your game. So as tough as the last couple of years have been, the one thing that I guess one of the really benefits that came out of that is the fact that everyone in America and basically in the world now understands the concept of what a supply chain is. Most people have the luxury of not really understanding that, but those of us that have been in the supply chain, that have built the supply chain, knew there was an awful lot of challenges, and just look at the problem that we had with toilet paper. I mean, it's an old example, but that shows you how complex the supply chain we built is. If you're not agile, if you're not have the ability to move and pivot on a dime, you saw what happened. I mean, the number of retailers that had to stand up both situations within weeks was amazing. Not a specific supply chain, but it's an aspect of agility that we in the analyst community understood, and definitely plenty of retailers did, but never really had the acid test, and we got it in spades in March and April of 2020. Now, going forward in 2023, that has to be mission critical component of every retail organization. How do you become more agile? How do you take costs out of the equation? How do you become more flexible? How do you have your information, your data, your lifeblood flowing through the organization, because you have no idea what the next challenge is going to be and what technology you're going to need to meet it. So when you start thinking about what the retail experience looks like today, there's lots of devices. When I started 40 years ago in retail, really we had our brains and we had pieces of paper where we wrote notes down. Those days are gone. And we have tablets, we have smart devices, we have many connected technologies that allow retailers and the frontline associates to bring the value they need. The problem that we have, and this is nothing new, we had this in the supply chain back 30 years ago when I was in it. If you don't have your scanners connected, if you don't have them charged, you have a problem. And so if you start to think about, as an analyst, I almost worry about the just explosion of devices. Some people's personal devices they're using in the retail process. How do you manage that? Where's that data going? Who has responsible for that? What happens if it's stolen? The desire to figure out how to provide better customer service, I love it. But now it's time to really get a handle on what all these devices are, have the loss prevention strategies in place, have the security around all these devices, have them retail ruggedized, so you can count on what devices you have, and you're also protecting the data that's now living on a lot of those devices. Really big point, I think, for 2023. So I'm standing in the Microsoft office, wrapping up Super Saturday, and the big topic here, as it was last night at an event, and will be all of this week, is what are the big three trends in retail in 2023? And I got to lead, and it might be a little controversial, I got to lead with the Metaverse. I actually think that's very interesting. Now, what's funny about that is there's a lot of controversy with the word, not with the technology to make up for it, and I won't get into why that is. I actually like the term immersive commerce. In other words, there's not a debate that augmented reality is already in use in retail. And I, as a multi-engine pilot, I've been training in simulators for 25 years. There's nothing new about the idea of creating a virtual world or a virtual component that we can engage in the process of learning and living and whatnot. And so I see that as a big trend. Virtual reality, definitely there. A lot of 3D objects. I mean, just look at how many components of what we describe as the metaverse are already in play. So whether people want to use that term, the metaverse, I don't know. I know for a fact that immersive commerce is going to be, the big rage, because we've got plenty of examples. And when we start looking at what Ulta Cosmetics is doing with Roblox and that little game that they have some amazing success with, certainly Nike, the bigger brands are all over it. You can mock up these little games that their customers want to play. It's a major trend. So that's number one. I would say the metaverse, or the term I prefer, immersive commerce. Number two is returns. Not the sexiest thing, but holy smokes, we just came out of a session. It was on background, so I can't share the number, but very few statistics I hear that shock me to my core, and what some of the return rates are is amazing to me, and amazing in a negative way. And so I think the focus on returns, and I think what we're going to start seeing is the idea of just unlimited returns becoming problematic. It's not a sustainable strategy. And we want to talk about bringing more green processes in. Probably the dirtiest part of that whole process is returns. So how do we do it better? But we have to get our sizing correct. We have to have tools, and they're there now, to begin to make people have a better concept of what the size is, so we can drive that process down. So I think that's the number two, is returns. And then three, nimbleness, agility, low code. You pick whatever term you want to use, but we learned many painful lessons during COVID, but the most important one we learned is the ability to be agile, to be nimble, to be able to stand up a Opus very quickly, to do whatever. And that's going to become, I think, a big trend in what is going to drive successful IT shops. How fast can you do something? How fast can you mock up a new capability? It's a game changer for the retailers that have done it. There's plenty of really good examples that happened over the last 2 years. You can't be tied into legacy systems. It's just not going to prepare you for the next crisis, and there will be a next crisis. Hopefully not during the rest of my career, but there will be. Prepare for it, be ready to roll, and survive it.
I want to thank Jeff for sharing his valuable insights. I know I have benefited from Jeff's deep industry insights and knowledge throughout my career in the retail industry, and my hope is that you will too. Microsoft empowers retailers and their frontline workers to achieve more through a trusted and secure platform supported by a comprehensive partner ecosystem and industry-leading solutions. We are committed to helping retailers reimagine their customer shopping journeys to deliver seamless and cohesive experiences throughout the retail value chain, optimizing every stage of the supply chain from the factory floor to the store shelf to the individual shopper. Please watch the other videos in the Top Trends in Retail video series, which feature other industry experts discussing the latest trends they're seeing at the intersection of technology and retail. Stay tuned for the next episode, and I hope to see you again soon.